Well, welcome. My name's Kirk Harver, and I'm a new Editor 1 and a new member of the Executive Committee, and I'll be walking you through how to write a final statement. Probably don't know, I'm also a gamer. So we're going to work through how to game the final statement because sometimes it never ends. It just keeps on going. So let's get in a little bit and talk about the final statement. First of all, where are you going to find guidance for this? If you go and you look inside your team chair workbook, you're going to find all of these documents and these different folders that actually apply to the generation of a final statement, a draft statement, an interim visit, or an interim report. The two documents you want to focus on are C200FS for final statement and C311, which is always a great guide for highlighting to make sure that you have the right verbs and that you're consistent between your finding and the words that you're using within your finding. All right, a couple of editing secrets as you're doing this. First of all, final statements are doppelgangers. They really look like draft statements, and we actually pull some stuff from draft statements, but they're very, very different. And they've got some different feels and some different things, so just be careful to that. You want to start as early as possible, and that means as soon as it's submitted, the institution has submitted its due process response. As you're going through, a couple of the boxes are going to be very clear that you need to add additional information. But one box, notes for the next review, is minimized. It's hidden. It's hard to find. Okay? It's also, what's the word? Mandatory. You have to do it. You have to fill out this box. I don't know why it's minimized, but it is minimized. And so make sure you don't bypass notes for the next review and you actually fill it out. And then finally, if you're lucky enough to be involved with an institution that does its due process review and then provides late breaking news after that, or changes after that, then that can become the song that never ends. And so you want to engage early, work hard, and try to break the cycle, preferably before the freeze date. But we're going to get into that in just a slide. All right, so let's do the box by box analysis. First of all, for every shortcoming that you have, if you do not receive a due process, or you do not receive a due process response, all you're going to do is put in the words "none received," and that probably is not going to change anything. If you do, then what you want to do is put in a succinct summary of what the institution said into that summary box, okay, or into the institutional due process response box. Be consistent. If the summary shortcoming is resolved, kind of hint at it in how you write up that summary. You then will have three radio buttons: unresolved, resolved, or change type. Unresolved means the finding stays the same. Resolved means the finding goes away. And change type means you're going to change it from a deficiency to a weakness, or a weakness to a concern. Okay. In the status detail box, you're going to enter your evaluation of the institutional response. Okay. That means it shouldn't have been in the previous. Your evaluation is actually in the status details box. Now, why is it called the status details box instead of the evaluation box? I don't know, but it is. So it just leave it there. And that's if it's not resolved. If it is resolved, then leave the box empty. And then you're going to, in the notes for the next review, which is that hidden box, okay, if it's a concern, you leave it blank. Else, you're going to put in text that kind of looks like this, all right? The text that is in black, you're going to put in exactly. You're going to say this deficiency or this weakness, depending on which one it is, okay? And then the rest of the text is just completely in black. And then what you want to enter here is what evidence you would like to see. Put a little black star in there. See the black star? There's a black star before the word item 1. You want to put that black star in, and then you want to have a very concise 1 or 2 sentences what you would like to see as evidence. And this is a note that you're leaving for the next team chair. Okay, and you do it for each item associated with that, each piece of evidence that you would like to see. All right, then finally in the summary box, You're going to put that text in black. The following is a summary of this evaluation for, put the institution name in where it's yellow. And then during the whatever year it is, 2021, 2022, whatever cycle it is, okay? And then you're going to put the program name. Again, where it's yellow, put the real program name. Where it's black, put all that stuff in. And then if there are no shortcomings, then put the text, there's no deficiencies, weaknesses, or concerns found. Else, if you do have deficiencies, weaknesses, or concerns, you can see the format. Again, same thing that I've been talking about. Where it is black, you're putting that in verbatim. You're just adding that in, following that format. And then for each one of those kind of starred items, you know, where it says criteria X, after that last period there, you're going to put a concise summary of, you know, why there's a deficiency. And normally this is done in one sentence. In extremis, you can use 2 sentences, but editors kind of like 1 sentence, and you can't copy it from the text that you had earlier in the document. So it's a concise, non-copied summary, preferably in 1 sentence, of why there is a deficiency for that criterion number and that criterion name. And you're going to do that for all of the program deficiencies, and then the program weaknesses, and then the program concerns. Again, concise, non-copied, preferably 1 sentence. Could be 2. 3 is no. Don't do 3. 1 or 2 sentences, preferably 1. All right. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but let's walk through a good example. And this is what the program weakness was prior to receiving the due process response. And so pause the video. I know it's a lot to read, but read it. I'm going to go ahead, but pause the video, read it, and then let's go on. And this is what, as a team chair, I would type in. So in the 30-day due process response, you're listing what the institution did. And so this team chair goes, in reference to the review cycle of student outcomes, the program provided documentation that their student outcomes were reviewed in 2019 and 2022 and asserted they were also reviewed in 2016, which means they didn't provide documentation. They also converted their handwritten notes of meetings to more formal documentation, and they documented the decisions. In this case, the team chair made the decision that the program weakness is unresolved. Okay, so it did not change, that response above did not change the recommendation that the team chair was making back to editor 1 and editor 2. Under the status details, which is really the evaluation, but under the status details, you have the team chair evaluation of that additional information that came in. And what does the team chair say? He says, he or she says, while the immediate response of the institution is most welcome, the effect of these changes cannot be verified. It is pertinent in that the institutional response does not indicate how the changes have been communicated to the faculty at large, and ABET cannot verify the effect of these changes on the culture of assessment and evaluation within the organization. And then in the notes for next review, remember this is a hidden, minimized field that you need to expand and add text. Look what we've done. We've copied the text in that was in black. That's that first kind of 2 sentences there. And then for each of the bullets that are stars is a kind of 1 sentence, hey, this is the evidence that the next team chair should be looking for. So we want evidence that the student outcome assessment evaluation process is consistent with documented and timely review process, and we want evidence of an appropriate and documented course change process. Okay? So again, that's kind of hidden. All right. And then finally, we're going to come down to the summary. And in the summary section, we're going to list, that first 3 lines or 4 lines. The following is a summary evaluation, name of the university during, whatever cycle. You list the program name, you list program weakness because that's a finding. You list the criterion number, you list the continuous improvement in that period. All of that is just a verbatim copy But the part after that, where it starts the long student outcome review cycle, creates the opportunity for outcomes to become outdated. Additionally, the documentation, of course, change decisions and implementation lack a strength of compliance that would be consistent with the weakness of the criteria as evidenced by faculty interviews. Okay, so again, this is a example of a summary. In this case, the team chair took 2 sentences. 2 is okay, but 1 is better as you kind of go along. But this gives you a good example of how to do a final statement. Now, wait, something may happen, and you may get information after the due process response. And this has the potential to turn into the song that never ends. Okay, if you don't know the song that never ends, here are the words to it, and that's Tom Arnold singing it in the movie The Stupids, which is great because it kind of captures what goes on here. It can become a song that never ends. And so if you receive additional information after you've already done everything with your final statement, so it's after the due process response and the date is before the freeze date, which is 1 June every year, then contact editor 1 and then follow the procedure that's listed on C200 FS, page 4. I'm not going to go through that procedure in this movie. It'll make the movie way too long, but you need to follow that procedure. Else, if you receive the additional information after the due process response and the date is after the freeze date, in other words, it's between 1 June and the summer commission meeting, then again, contact editor 1. You're going to provide suggested wording to editor 1 prior to the summer commission meeting, again using the same procedures in C200 FS page 4. But then you're going to, when you get to the summer commission meeting and they open, you're going to go back in and modify that final statement. Finally, if neither of those things happen, you should be dancing for joy because you're not caught in the song that never ends unless you start humming it quietly and dancing the song that never ends. All right, very, very good. That brings us to key findings from this video. 1, start early. 2, do not let the notes for next review, which are hidden, force editor 1 to return your statement. Expand that box, put the information in there following the information that is in C200 FS or what we've covered during this video. Thou shalt not copy into the summary. Thou shalt summarize in 1 sentence, and in extremis, you can use 2. Be wary of the song that never ends, a late breaking news, and if it does happen, just respond immediately and immediately try to break the cycle, or it's something you're going to be doing all through the commission meeting. Very good. That brings us to the end of how to write a final statement. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.